Hi there, I'm John Underhill, and this is the Red Special Guitar Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, listening to the Red Special Guitar Podcast, hello and welcome to you. You can see me this week, spotting my new merch. Today on the podcast, though, we have one of my favourite Queen tribute artists. He is exactly the same height as Brian May, which is something we'll come on to talking to him a little bit later. And I finally got to meet him properly twice this year, once outside of lockdown and secondly at the UK Red Special Meetup. Welcome, Craig Farley, to the Red Special Guitar Podcast.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you, John. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be on here. Also sporting a very nice merchandise top.
There you go.
You recognise.
Where did you get those from, Craig?
Oh, you get these from the Red Special podcast store, which I handily found online a couple of weeks ago, and it literally arrived about 2 or 3 days later. Nice. Lovely shade of blue, all the way from 1983, I think. So yeah, love it. Fantastic. No. Starlix. What more do you need?
What more do you need? No, thank you for the plug, mate. That worked out just like we planned.
I know, it's almost like we almost spoke about it beforehand, but we didn't. It's spontaneous.
No. So, Craig, how have you been, mate? How's COVID treated you in the last couple of years?
Well, last couple of years, at the start of COVID, I was with my band of, at that point, probably 6 years, Forever Queen down here on the south coast in Hampshire. And then we had all the dates pulled like every other band in the country did. And we had some big ones lined up. We was about to play the Isle of Wight Festival again, which we did the year before, load of sort of halls and theatres, as well as our sort of more local shows. And all wiped out. And then within probably a couple of weeks of the sort of lockdown, I decided to leave the band on good terms. Just felt like the right time, really. A few things sort of happened on and off before that, and it felt like the right time, really, considering there was nowhere to play for the foreseeable future. So yeah, I was off work. I'm plumber and heater, so I was furloughed for 3-4 months myself. So yeah, it's just spending time with the family in the garden, like a lot of people do, enjoying the weather, carrying on with projects, and then roll ahead to this year. I got asked to play for a band which I absolutely love, and I've followed them for ages. A band called Mercury, who've been going 21 years now. Lead singer Joseph Lee Jackson is by far my favourite Freddie tribute. I played with him a few times before. He's taken me abroad with him. We did a little tour in Romania about 3 years ago. We went over there for a week, did some shows, and also played a festival, big open festival. Took my old ex-band mates with me, my drummer and bass player, and we went over to Ibiza, did a big open air thing. And so yeah, we've kept in contact for probably 5-6 years. And he said his guitarist Glenn of Mercury, who was like a founder member, he's actually early 70s now, and he's just been a bit wary of COVID and gigging. So he said, would I mind standing in for him? And so since I think July it was, I've been playing with Mercury all up and down the country. Yeah, far and wide, lots of theatres, lots of festivals in the summer. And as of now, I know we were going to show this later on, beginning of December, got 4 shows left this year. Loved every one of them. Fantastic band, fantastic crew. But I still don't know whether Glenn's going to return next year or they're going to want me. They know that I want to play for them. So we'll just see what happens. I've got Romania booked again with Joseph in March, which has been postponed because of COVID, I think 3 times now. So we'll see with this current outbreak again, doom and gloom on the news, whether that's going to go ahead. But yeah, so if I'm not, I've been pretty much non-stop every weekend, really, as well as trying to fit in my day job. I've got understanding family, understanding boss, a lot of Thursday, Friday shows. So I've been sort of working sort of 3-4 days doing my plumbing and heating, and then playing the shows, coming back to work on a Monday morning, and then just conveyor belt of gigs, working gigs and working. So yeah, Christmas is going to be nice, a bit of a slowdown, but I've loved it. I love playing again. I say I'm almost sort of contemplated giving up, really. I know I spoke to a few people on the forum when COVID hit. I'd sort of sold a few bits, some of my costumes, some of my gear, and then I sort of started speaking with Joseph again, and got the bug back. So then it's a case of buying a couple of amps from your good self, and a couple of bits and pieces, and I've got the hunger again, got the eye of the tiger, as they say. And it's going to come a bit of a shock, really, when it gets to January 1st. If I've got nowhere to go and play, I'm going to be boring people with content on my YouTube channel again, because I'm going to need an outlet. I've not really had any time apart from sort of posting live footage, really. I got to a stage I was quite regular posting my tutorials that I do and different bits and pieces, but that's sort of ground to a halt. I've just literally had no time, just not enough time to sleep, to be honest.
Yeah, that's all you need, really.
Yes.
And where do we go to find you on YouTube, Craig? What's your YouTube handle?
YouTube, it's Craig Farley Musician. It started, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. Just really, I had no intent of becoming a YouTuber. I just wanted somewhere to record videos, store them, so they didn't take up space on my phone. That's as simple as it was. And then what happens is you get the bug. The subscribers come in, and it's nice. You get 10, you get 20. Well, wouldn't 100 be nice? And you think, oh, now I want 200. And now I've been stuck at this really horrible number now, around the 980 figure for a couple of months. And it's like, I really want 1,000. It's just it's a figure. I don't want to do anything with it. I want to push the channel a bit more when I get a bit of time. So if anybody's out there hasn't subscribed, please do. I think I'm on 989 at the minute. So
let's see if we can
889, something like that. I'm about 100. I need about 100 people, just over 100 people. Give me to that 1,000, and then but yeah, it'd be nice. But I want to put some new content on next year, do something different. I kind of concentrate a lot more on like breakdowns of the different live version Ryan plays over the years. But I want to try and maybe do some different things on there. You sort of run out of things to almost do, really, because there's only a certain amount of Queen songs over the years, and I'm not getting any, no more new material coming out. So and a lot of there's lots of other channels doing stuff. So I want to try and find a new angle, and hopefully interest people. But it's been good. It's been good. It's another outlet.
Definitely is, and it's especially if you've not got something to do. YouTube's a great thing.
Yeah,
it's surprising how long it takes to put videos together and edit and do all that side of it.
It in the early days it wasn't, because I was just camera phone and it was just playing guitar. But I've kind of tried to evolve it with. I've been learning piano the last years in this music room I built end of last year. So I've got piano in here. So I've been trying to learn the piano parts, play them, do the bass parts, do the guitar, do harmonies, and then sort of build the track almost without, just using the original drum track, because I've got software that can extract that sort of thing. So so what was just me sitting in front of the guitar, I'm trying to make it a bit more involved now, doing a bit of piano, a bit of bass, a bit of guitar, something a bit different that somebody else isn't doing. The thing I've loved doing the most this year actually was, it's still Queen related, but my other big love is the band Extreme and the guitarist Nina Bettencourt. And for years I've wanted to do a one-take playthrough of the Queen medley they did at the Freddie Mercury tribute. So I've always loved Washburn N4 guitars. They were my sort of favourite guitar growing up. Blasphemy on here, but they probably might be my favourite guitar still. But I've always loved them. And
get off the podcast. Get off now. This is the end of the podcast.
This is the end of the podcast. So I did it back in, I think I recorded it in March, ready, because I knew I was going to be busy doing work and stuff, ready for the anniversary of the tribute concert. So I think I did it on my third take. It took me 3 takes. I messed up on the same point about 10 minutes in, annoyingly. I think it's somewhere on another one bites a lot of dust. I was like, oh, for Christ's sake. So started again. I didn't want any camera cuts. I wanted it just on me, continuous, no, deceiving people with a little sneaky zoom in and he's done a little edit there. I wanted it all continuous. Did it, and that got a really good response. So I was happy with that. So if I didn't record anything else for the channel, I'd quite happily just left it there, really, because that was something I wanted to do for years. So,
well, I suppose that leads on to for me, that watching that, Nuno Betancourt play those songs and that little medley in for Extreme is one of those defining moments of me going, I really want to get and play a guitar and play those songs. And I obviously know Brian is amazing and wrote those songs with the rest of the band. And but watching that little medley on the tribute concert struck a real chord with me, and it made me go and find out a little bit more about Extreme. And it was like probably the best, not the most accurate tribute, but a tribute that embodied Queen, I think, and it really lit a fire under me when I first saw it.
Definitely. I mean, they're all well known. They're Queen fans. They used to play Queen and Aerosmith a lot in their early days before they became Extreme. So they're all, they didn't just turn up for the sake of it. They're genuine Queen fans. And but I like the way they put the little spin on it. I did a long-winded intro to my video, sort of going through this, but I just love how they Nuno put his little sort of funky element. I mean, songs like Another One Bites the Dust could have been written by Extreme, really. It's the little elements, and it is perfect for his feels. And they didn't overplay it. I mean, we all know what a player Nuno is, and he let rip a little bit, but they stayed true. And I think really is the vocal harmonies which shone through. Stuff like Bicycle Race, Fat Bottom Girls, and that. It really sort of highlighted them. I think there's quite a league above all the other bands in respect, really, for the backing vocals. And just paying tribute, really. They loved Freddie.
I watched a podcast with Nuno the other day. He was talking to a female journalist, and that set came up, and apparently Brian and Roger had said no one was to do Queen songs. They were only to play their original music, and they phoned Brian and said, "Look, we're going to do this tribute act," and he wasn't best pleased, which is why he gave them the intro that he gave them, putting loads of pressure on them. But I think it worked.
I heard
they absolutely nailed it.
I heard that too.
Yeah,
they absolutely did, and they actually wanted them to play some of their songs, and they wasn't intending to do More Than Words at the end after Love My Life, but they kind of went into it, and I think it even caught the cameraman out because I think they thought that their set had finished. And they actually went on and did like an edit version of that, so they got something of their own in there. But fantastic. No, good memories from watching that live. I think I was 16 at the time, and just watched the whole thing on TV.
Everyone's now got a calculator out working out how old you are, Craig.
I'm happy to say I'm 45 and a half. I'll take the half. Yeah.
So when did this whole Queen thing start for you then, and when did you start going down the rabbit hole of Red Special?
Yeah, it was okay. I was 10 in '86, so there's a definite clue for how old I am, and it was watching Wembley '86 on the Tube or whatever the sort of edited version was on Channel 4, and I can't get in my memory how soon after it was recorded. I don't think it was a live recording. I don't think that would have happened. I don't know that it was put out a couple of months after. But I remember watching it, and I was aware of Queen beforehand because I'd watched the Flash Gordon film a lot as a kid and heard Flash over. And I remember Radio Gaga being played in the house on the radio. My dad pointing out, and he loved like all the synth bouncing between the speakers. And he was, Dad, Craig, listen to this. And I was like, what is it? He's like, I just remember this, the sound effect. And actually, the first single I ever bought was from my local newsagents back in the little village I grew up in, and it was the Flash single with the yellow cover. And it's funny, that's the first. I remember my pocket money. I think I really bought it because I just like the yellow sleeving, and I remember the Flash and the Flash Gordon thing, and I remember actually playing the B-side to death more than anything, Football Fight. I actually love that song's fantastic. It's very synthy, but I did a guitar version again of that on my channel. But yeah, that's the whole scene in the film with throwing up the big metal Easter eggs and all of that. It stays in my memory. So yeah, I played that side more than the A side. So that was probably my very first Queen thing. Then it skipped forward to '86 when I was 10 and just got involved. And I remember recording it off the TV and had the old VHS recorder, and you got the 4 digits, and I remember writing down the timings for when each song started. I remember asking Mum, "What's this song called?" I could guess a lot of them. I had no idea what Bohemian Rhapsody was called. I mean, it doesn't even say it in the song. I think I just called the song Mama or something. It was written down as. So anyway, I just thinking, this guy's really cool. He's got his big curly hair, big curly guitar lead. And even then, I was thinking that guitar looks quite different to any other guitar that I'd seen. Not that I'd really at that point really found guitar music. It was was all sort of chart music, you know, Madonna was everywhere, and you know, Duran Duran and Michael Jackson, that sort of stuff. So anyway, that's when the inklings of wanting to learn guitar, and it was just about half a year after that. My granddad played guitar, but he was more of a keyboard organ, big band sort of stuff on his keyboard. Anyway, he had an old guitar, and he said, "Oh, you can have this if you want, Craig, if you want to learn." And it was awful. It was the classic Bryan Adams lyric, you know, my fingers were bleeding. This, you know, the strings were like, felt like 2 inches off the fretboard, but it's like I had my own guitar, and still it's this old acoustic, and I don't think the strings have been changed in years, and everything's squeaking up and down the fretboard. I bought this little yellow guitar chord book, and I've been completely self-taught, so I just went through these chords. You know, I remember just every day after school, the hands just like, Christ, I can't play it. You know, I've got to keep playing. Anyway, so got that. And I think I had that for a little while, and then I think when I was 12, I got a milk round, and it's £5 a week for about 7 hours work. I remember being picked up at like 5:30 on a Saturday morning and dropped off at 1:30, 2 o'clock for £5. It's like slave labour now. And I saved up money for this Squire Strat, a black and white Squire Strat, and this little, I think it's a 5 watt or 15 watt Ross amp. I've never even heard of it. Tiny little amp, but it was an electric guitar, an electric amp. And it was £95. I remember that. And I literally worked enough to pay off these things and jack the job in. And that was the start of me then finding electric guitar, being able to plug in, and actually thinking, it's a little bit easier when you've got a guitar with, you know, thinner strings and whatnot. So that was, and I was just playing, you know, early days, it was simple stuff. I remember playing Mull of Kintyre by, you know, Paul McCartney, just strumming chords, and the riff section from Fleetwood Mac, the chain, you know, like the Formula One part, and just picking it, and it was all by ear. And I can still remember, because I was completely self-taught. I've never had a guitar lesson. Everything I've learned is to listening or books, or later on tab books, trying to figure out, you know, the more technical stuff. But I can remember thinking I was the first person in the world to discover that the open E string is the same note as the 5th fret on the B string, and likewise. And I was thinking, I was finding this all out myself, thinking, oh, no one else knows this. And it's like, you know, these are the same notes all over again. You know, I could do something with this, and then it's just crazy when you think about it now. But that's how I discovered the guitar. It's just literally, you know, I wasn't watching videos or being taught. It was just finding out what the notes were, where they were, and going from there, really. But the biggest opener then, I mean, so what we up to then? So I was heavily into Queen then. So I remember buying the Kind of Magic album. It was the first proper Queen album I bought. I just love the artwork. I love the cartoons, and I know a lot of the proper Queen old fans now don't really like that album, but you know, that's my introduction to Queen. The Miracle was then the first one that I sort of got as it came out. And then obviously with Innuendo, and I played Innuendo, you know, so much. And that's the first proper guitar tab book I'd got. I'd never had a guitar tab book until that. Got the white, still got it out there on my shelf. Innuendo tab book back from the day. Dig it down in a minute. And first of all, then it's like trying to figure out what the hell this guitar tab, this whole new language of tab was. So I got into that, and you know, you soon realise that some of it's accurate, some of it's not, and still the best thing really, it gives you a guide, but just listen to the record and figure it out yourself if you can rewind or slow it down. So I got really into Queen, and on that Innuendo album, being my last year at school, I can remember all rolling in with GCSEs, and you know, Freddie dying in my last year of school in November. And then round about that time was the Seville Expo 91/92 concert that Brian May was hosting with the Guitar Legends. And I remember it coming up in the TV listings, and it said Brian May, and it said Nuno Betancourt. And I kind of, at this point, I was buying guitar magazines, and I heard of this guy, Nuno Betancourt, and I hadn't actually really heard that much of Extreme's music. I just thought he looked really cool. He had like the really cool hair, and the guitar looked cool. I thought, I need to, you know, more than words I'd heard, but you know, I wanted to. I kept reading in this tab in the guitar magazines. It looked like stupidly technical. I just couldn't even figure out what the hell it meant. You know, never mind what he was actually playing. So it all coincided really. So Brian May put this concert on, and Nuno Betancourt was on it. So I remember taping it late one night and then watching it back the next day. And then that's when I got into the world of Joe Satriani and Steve Vai, because they were on the bill, and I'd never heard of them at this point. And I watched their sets, and I thought, wow, you know, I hadn't really properly heard of Wah Wah pedal really clearly, and I mean, I'd heard it obviously on, you know, Delilah, if you like, on Innuendo, but watching Satriani played Surfing the Alien with this wah, and I was thinking, I couldn't figure out if it's his fingers making that sound, or the wah, it didn't sound like a proper wah. I was just like, wow, this is unbelievable. So I bought the Surfing with the Alien album, and then at that point the Extremist album was coming out, bought that. So that was
I've lost you.
Windows, the last album for a little. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so that was my introduction to more technical music. I got into like Mr. Big and Paul Gilbert. So for years, and they still are really, I've not really evolved to what I like to listen to. For me, it's Brian May, Nuno Bettencourt, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Paul Gilbert. I love a bit of Zakk Wylde. I love some blues, but for me, and I've been lucky enough over the years to have met all of them, either at like before a show, after a show, or a meet and greet. Got photos on the walls behind me, so I'm a happy person. I've met and spoke with all these people that I've looked up to for so long, and that means a lot, because their records are just, music was my thing really, more than I like films, but music was always on. So that was.
So when do you then? So obviously, like, you're massively influenced by a very similar list of guitar players to myself, and probably a lot of people on the forum.
Definitely,
it's always crazy when you talk to people when I talk to people on the podcast about how do they get into all this. A lot of our stories are very similar, and we all follow the same path, which is just crazy because we're all around the world, didn't know,
exactly.
all following the same journey, but at a different time.
Age groups and eras, it's amazing, isn't it? Influences and that.
And so at what point do you decide, right, I'm going to start focusing really heavily on Queen, and I'm going to try and figure out what guitar Brian uses? And
that would have been, so I started work as a plumbing apprentice in summer of '92, and my goal was to save all my wages to buy a Washburn N4. I had the Washburn Post as the Nuno guitar, so I did that, and November bought the guitar, and I was like, wow, this is the guitar from the poster. I'm playing it, lovely, happy. And I was playing Queen songs on this guitar, trying to play extreme songs on this guitar, Satriani, Steve Vai. And then, so we get to '93, and then that was when the Guilds come out. And I remember, I think it's in Guitarist magazine, they remember this big double spread thing, and Brian May's guitar there. And I was thinking, wow, the Red Special, only, limited edition, sucks you in, limited edition guitar. Because I'd not even really looked into, at that point, heard of Burns or anything like that. I was just, to me, this is the first thing I'd seen a commercial version, because I knew enough that you couldn't. Brian had made his own guitar, and just thought that was it. You couldn't get it. So I saw this, and I had a word with my dad and said, "Dad, can I borrow some money?" I said, "I need to put an order in." And said, "I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back." He said, "Well, yeah, make sure you." So it's just a couple of weeks of talking. I said, "Look, I've got put the pressure on. I need to get this order in. They're all, it's limited edition." So we was living up in Berkshire, where I grew up at that point, and then so I remember ordering it from the shop in Ringwood. Funny enough, not far from where I am now, down on the south coast. And so I took 2 or 3 months for it to come in. So I remember it was a rainy Saturday afternoon. My dad drove me. We drove from Berkshire down to Ringwood, picked this guitar up. I still remember now, because I don't have the guitar stupidly anymore, opening the case, sort of purpley red fluffy thing, and the smell of the guitar, like the lacquer and that, is amazing. And I finally got this guitar, because I going back to watching Queen at '86, I was always, even then, I could see that he had these switches on his guitar that nobody else had, and I was thinking, this is how you sound like Brian. It's these switches. It's nothing to do with his fingers. I always seen him tweaking with the volume. I thought, no one else has got these 6 switches. I'm going to get this guitar, I can plug it into any amp, and I'm going to sound like Queen. Fantastic. I knew nothing of the community at this point. I didn't know about treble boosters. I didn't even really know properly about Vox amps, to be honest. It was just, to me, it was the guitar. And the curly lead, I thought the curly lead's got to be where the sound is. Anyway,
it's the secret to the tone.
Everyone messes around. Exactly. So anyway, gets the guitar home, and I remember sort of playing it really a lot acoustically, not plugged in for a while. And I plugged it into, I think I had a Laney amp. I'd upgraded from the little amp. I had like a Laney solid state, clean, dirty channel thing. Anyway, I couldn't get it to sound like Queen. It was like, and it was just, I wasn't used to that neck at that point. I've been used to the smaller neck, even though I don't think the Guild in from memory is as big as like your sort of KZs or your Dansons or your CQs at the moment. I loved looking at it. I loved getting it out of the case for the smell, but I couldn't really get on with it because I was playing with a pick at the time, not a coin. And it sort of came out then on special occasions. Oh, look, I've got this Brian May guitar, and it more became a thing of I've got it, but I actually still like preferring playing the Washburn M4. I just couldn't get the sound I wanted out of the setup I had, for want of a better word. So really then roll on, I'm 18, 19, I'm playing in bands, and I've got a couple of Washburn N4s, and I went to a whole list of an Ibanez Gem, a couple of Gibsons, and a couple of Paul Gilbert models, and then we're fast forwarding then to, and that's just in covers bands, and I did original music for a few 10 years, different bands, recording sessions in London. It's always with the Washburn M4, always with the Washburn. I sold the Guild in about 2008. eBay, just gone onto eBay. I needed some money for something, forget what it was. Probably sold it way too cheap. Because I tried taking it down my local guitar shop, and they was like, "What's this?" And I thought, everyone knows what Brian May's guitar was, and they was like, no one's going to buy this. And I was like, oh, try eBay. And eBay was quite new at that point for me. I was like, okay. Anyway, sold it on eBay, probably way too short. Somebody's probably got it out there now laughing at me, but that's another story. And then roll on 5 years, I find myself in a Queen tribute band, thinking, well, I had a Brian May guitar, I could have used that. But looking back in hindsight now, I don't know whether it's obviously not as accurate as the models that have come out since. It had a few, the trem was different. I'm talking from memory now, because when I had it, I wasn't a Brian May geek as such. It was just, and I couldn't, I hardly ever played the thing plugged in, so I couldn't even tell you how good the pickups were. Or I just remember it feeling very lacquery, the lacquery neck, and quite sticky. It was probably another reason why I didn't get on with it in them days. But anyway, so I found myself in a Queen tribute band and ended up selling all the rig that I built up for the other stuff to, I knew what I wanted to get. I wanted the 3 amps, and I was then finding about treble boosters, and I was kind of thrown at the deep end with about a month to go because they needed a guitarist. So I went down that road then of, well, if my wife's listening, I'm going to say wasting money, spending money on stuff that I knew wasn't going to be permanently part of my rig, but I needed to be able to gig. So I knew what I wanted, and I didn't have the money for it. So it was, I bought my first BMG. I bought a brand new Vox amp. Obviously, didn't know anything about needing them modded and the difference between a TBX, and thinking, well, I'm plugging into this. Surely the master channel's fine. Didn't know anything about power breaks. And it was like, oh Christ! And I just couldn't get this sound. I was thinking, I've got the guitar, I've got a Vox amp, I've got a treble booster. Surely, and you're learning. You do another. Oh, okay, I want to get a TBX now. Oh, I need to get a power break, and so it goes on. And then you go through 5, 6, 7 different treble boosters because you think, oh, these all sound very nice. And it's just you're gigging and you're losing money because you're just gigging, so you can't even cover in what you're paying for. We all know that. So I've had a few BMGs, I've had a Burns, I've had a CQ, a Danson, a KZ, and so here I am now, end of 2021, after starting Queen Tribute end of 2014. Played for sort of, my main band was Forever Queen. I'd always decked for other bands around the country, sort of played for sort of 7 or 8 different Queen bands if they needed anyone. And just done this run with Mercury, and as of next year, I don't know who I'll be playing for. I definitely got the bug again, so I'm definitely not selling up and giving up and having to buy gear again. Let's put it that way.
We know you got the bug because you turned up to the meetups this year, or in the 2021 meetup.
I know.
You've been threatening to do for many years.
I've been threatening. I did have gigs on before. One of them I could have, but I must admit I didn't. But I had been. The gigs always fell on that day.
So what made this year the year that you wanted to turn up?
I didn't have a gig on, which is quite rare considering the schedule I've just had. And I just thought, now's the time. I obviously met up with you to buy the amps off you earlier in the year, so it's nice to finally speak to you in person, and then just talking again, because I've sort of come out the forum a little bit after I quit my band. I was kind of like, I distanced myself a little bit. I was almost like, well, am I going to be doing this? And then I found myself talking to people again, and I kind of just thought it'd be really nice now to put some faces to names and voices to text messages, you know. So it's really nice to meet up with everyone and see people for the first time, like Jonathan and Luke and yourself and Roger and all the and meet Nigel Knight and you know, Andy Guyton and it is even more of a bonus, you know, Ariel turning up and it's just a fantastic day. Yeah, really good. I loved it. Yeah,
it was great. I mean, I love everyone coming, but knowing you were coming was like, it's another bonus, because it's so difficult to vocalize what the meetup is, and you have to really turn up to get it. And I think when you've been to one, the meetup is a bug in itself. And
yeah, I can get that. I can see that, and definitely need to sort out myself a bit better again for next year with the meal and staying over. Now, I think it's one of those things. It's kind of like, was I going to fit in? And because I always had this thing when I first joined the forum, I just imagined, I had this vision that everyone would only be in this forum because they played guitar and wanted to be in a Queen tribute band. That was my thing, and I couldn't understand people I was speaking to that could only just play guitar but had made absolutely amazing instruments. I was thinking, you've gone through all this effort, it's amazing, and you can't really play. And I'm like, wow, that's just a whole new level that I you know, I didn't even realize. So you meet, not just players, people that can play really well, people can make stuff really well, and you know, that's the best part, and the knowledge. I mean, I love playing. You know, I probably consider myself more of a Queen geek maybe than a Red Special guitar geek. You know, I love Queen. I love the music. I love, you know, Brian and Freddie. Told me I'm not one of these people. I couldn't, you know, reel off dimensions for pickups and radiuses of necks, and I pick up the guitar and I play it. I'll quite happily pay silly amounts of money for somebody to make me a really nice version of it, rather than, don't get me wrong, I'd love to be able to build one, but I just don't have the time. It must be an amazing feeling to actually finally finish something you've built.
That one there's my homemade.
Very nice.
Yeah.
When did that get finished?
That was March 2021. So it's over a year ago. I started it when lockdown started. It's a bit of a project to do. But nice. I'd say, it is time, but you can do little bits, and there's so much more information out there now, and people that are, the whole community is there to help you. If you say, I'm going to start building a guitar, there's so many more people there that you can get bits from. And,
I mean,
everyone in that room will help you if you said you wanted to do it.
And that's a great thing. I got that feeling just from talking and listening. And I mean, I was just earwigging on Julian Hemingway's shoulder, talking to someone, and he probably didn't even know I stood there, but it's just, I'd obviously heard of all these stories about Julian back in the day, and, you know, meeting Brian and having the first sort of proper plans. And I just thought this is like meeting a legend for me. And I was just sort of stood there listening to his stories, and I could have just listened to him talk all day. And so that was a nice highlight. So
I'm really glad you came, because it is it's just nice to put a face to a name, and
it was good.
Making sure you share something with people that you like as well, because
definitely.
And then the more people that go, the more people that get it. And once you've got it, you get the
bug,
and
spread the word.
And it's like, I've got to go now, because I'm seeing it becomes more than just about the guitar, and it becomes more about the people. And I'm going to see my friends again for another.
You turn it into I'm going to talk about guitars. I'm going to go and see this group of people. Could be about anything. It just happens that we all have this same insanely geeky interest in a Red Special guitar. So it was good. It's all good. Definitely. No, I loved it.
And so you, like, I know you've done some other stuff. Obviously, I said in your intro that you're the same height as Brian May. Talk to me a little bit about that, because you've ended up hanging upside down somewhere.
Oh yeah. Well, I must admit, it started. For as much as a Queen fan I am, and have been since 10, I was never had the intention of being in a Queen tribute band. I mean, red hair, completely un-Brian looks and everything. I thought, no, and I've always had the impression of a tribute band should be a tribute, not just play the music. You should, at least resemble the band, not just four blokes that can play instruments, because there's a lot of sort of pub covers bands that can play the songs really well and don't dress up, but you call yourself a tribute. To me, you've got to go all out. So I undenied it because I had an email come in from a local band and said, we really need someone. And at that point, I looked more like a Viking. My hair was quite long. I had a great big beard. I'd grown my beard out. And he turned up around my house to hear me play, and I still had that look. I could see him looking at me, and I love what you're playing. He said, but I was like, don't worry. I said, look, if you want me in a band, I'll lose a beard. And I didn't want to. I've been growing it for a good while. But anyway, so I said, well, if I'm going to do this, I've got to go all in. I said, what have I got? Let's look at the plus points for me being a Brian May. All right, so let's go. I'm 6'3". Okay, I'm a good height. I can be a Brian. Similar build. Lockdown didn't help, but I try and keep myself quite trim. And okay, I can play guitar. I love Queen. I've got a geeky knowledge of all the random songs that not many people know, so that's fine. Okay, let's look into clothes. So then it's a case of starting off with basic clothes, and I found a good costume maker, and then I got more obsessed with the clothes than the gear when I ran out of money to buy gear. So what can I waste money on now? I know I need another 5 costumes from the 70s that one fan in the audience might actually remember. So and then getting a good wig, and then just sort of learning mannerisms. And for me, that was the key thing: how I'd hold myself, or how I still do hold myself on stage, in terms of watching so much Queen live shows, and how he would stand for a guitar solo, how he'd walk out with how he'd bend one leg, or the guitar tilted, and things he would do with his mouth. He very rarely smiles with his mouth open. It's more of a grimace sort of thing. It's all these little things I took, and I thought, well, let's try and do this properly. And it's kind of evolved, and I've got the costumes, and and I can't play. Gosh, if I try and play any other music apart from Queen, if I'm stood up with a guitar strap, I'd stand like Brian now. I've just got in such a habit of how I hold a guitar. I mean, I'd play an extreme song or a Satriani song stood like Brian May. I've just got so used to it's become second nature. So yeah, I mean, that was the thing. I'd only probably seen 2 Queen tribute bands in my life before I joined one live, actually, in a thing. And I was it's the guy in a yellow jacket. Everyone else, one guy didn't even have a red special. He had like a Strat, and it was kind of like, you're not even really making the effort. You've got some $3.99 wig on from Amazon, and you're calling yourself a Queen tribute, and it's more like an insult. So that was my mentality. If I was going to do it, it's like anything I do, whether it's my house projects, building stuff, working, whatever, I'm going to do it as best I can. So a bit of smoke and mirrors, and hey presto, I turn up on show night, and I get the wig on, and transforming as best as I can into Brian. I get a lot of good feedback, and it's nice when you get the proper sort of the non-greatest hits fan come up at the end and say, oh, you did that solo version from 1979 live in so and so, because that's what I try and do. I like to mix up the guitar solos. Not that I play something that Brian has always played, whether it's live or studio, but nothing I've made up. But just for my own sanity, I don't just play the studio version. So I might play like the Live Aid version of Bo Rap solo, or the a Melbourne tour from the Works tour version of Somebody to Love solo. Just and I don't even know, sometimes I get to the guitar solo and I've probably got 4 or 5 different versions in my head that I can play, different melody twists, only like little slight things. And you know what Brian's like, he tweaks stuff, and I don't even know where my fingers can go sometimes. It'll go, it just go off to that solo version, or it might be the studio version this night, just to keep it fresh, really. So yeah, and it's nice for them when the true fans come out and they recognise that. Oh, you did that. Or you've got that costume on from, the jazz tour. Oh, you know that one. Yeah. Because the amount of times I used to hear all these bluffers come up to me in the early days playing like social clubs. Oh, I was at Wembley '86. The amount of people I've met that was at Wembley '86, I think they thought they were, because they've watched it on TV so much. And it's actually nice when I get somebody come up to me that's, they'll mention something from the jazz tour or the Works tour, and I gain interest in. Oh, you there, was you? Okay, and then I home in on them.
Yeah.
So I love all that geeky stuff.
And you got contacted by a PR agency, didn't you? And ended up hanging upside down.
Yes, that was quite interesting. So yeah, a lady contacted me to my Brian May Facebook page, and said we're looking for a Brian May tribute. And it's like a lookalike. So, well, not really a lookalike. I said when I'm on stage and I'm more of a tribute, I said, I don't go around looking like Brian May. She goes, that's fine. She goes, I've seen your pictures. You're what we want. Okay. didn't know what it was properly at that time. So I turned up, drive to London, gonna get paid for it. Turns up to this sort of warehouse, and there's all these. I think there was an Anthony Joshua lookalike, as a Queen, the Queen, not Queen, the Queen mother, Queen lookalike, and it's the Financial Times Wits list. And so basically, they hadn't decided whether I was going to be old Brian or young Brian, because I bought a few different costumes. In the end, they gave me this grey wig, so they wanted old Brian. I thought that's charming. So I went through the makeup chair, and hung upside down, holding the red special in the clothes, and then in the end they superimposed Brian's face onto mine anyway. And but yeah, it was quite surreal, really. It was like a couple of hours hanging upside down. They gave me a couple of little breaks, so I didn't want to mess up my head too much. And you okay? I said, yeah, let's just get on with it. And then back again, had a free lunch, and came home with a day's money after a couple of hours hanging upside down. And then a few months later, I got the photos through. So yeah, it's cool. It's different. You don't get to do that every day.
Definitely not. If I can find it, I'll put the photo
Yeah,
up.
it's if not, I probably got it somewhere.
Yeah.
They'd superimpose like coins falling out of his my pocket,
Yeah.
upside down sort of thing. So I think that's about 3-4 years ago. I've lost track now. Lost so much time with COVID. I can't remember what was what. So
it's led you on to lots of different things then that you wouldn't necessarily have thought would happen.
Definitely. And you don't want to say no to these sort of things. Like I say, I've seen parts of England that I'd never visited if it wasn't for playing shows.
Oh, we've lost
it's taken me to Romania, taken me to Ibiza. Oh, for the signal. Tell me when I'm back. Am I back? Hello.
Am
I in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go again.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, it's taken me to places even in England and Scotland that I'd have never visited if it wasn't for playing shows, different theatres, and abroad. Let's say to Romania and Ibiza. I've never gone to Romania as a holiday choice, but I got there. It's fantastic. People are brilliant. Speak English. I sing every word, perfect English. Better than some of the English audiences, to be fair. You play Love of My Life, you could almost just stop, and it's just like being at a Queen concert. It's so loud.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got me around. I love playing. It's a balance though. I've got quite a full-on job. I've got a wife and 2 daughters. One's at second year at college, one's 9. So you've got to balance it. As much as I'd like to say yes to every gig, you're always conscious. Back in mind, you don't want to overdo it, because it's that thing of it's the young man's game, as they say. I'm 45 now, but I find it annoying that the opportunities have all come to me later in life rather than starting my guitar journey. When I was sort of just
It's definitely changed though now with the advent of the internet and social media and Instagram and that instant accessibility of things that there wasn't when yourself and myself were learning to play guitar and trying to do things. Because now you can, back in the day when you got your guild, that was the only red special you could buy. That was literally it. Whereas now there's so many other options, and if you want one, you can get one next day, pretty much. From BMG and
Sport for Choice. Order in from the other guys. BMG, and it's amazing. And it seems to be. It's come on so fast, so quick. Like you say, I was quite happy learning from a chord book. I never wanted I didn't have that much confidence really, so I was quite happy to lock myself in a room as a kid with a book and just learning it and listening to records. Never wanted a guitar teacher. My uncle played guitar. He's very heavily into the Beatles when I was growing up. Well, he was always in the Beatles, but he used to sort of fingerpick Beatles songs, sort of playing out the melodies from chords. And I used to find that fascinating. How could you play vocal lines while playing the chords? And I used to listen to him and think, I'd love to play like that one day. It was really nice acoustic playing. And a few years later, when I started getting into like my rock music and I was, blazing away all these sort of Satriani and Vice songs, he'd come up, he goes, you'd left me behind years ago, boy. He'd say to me, I'd say, look, I said, if it wasn't for you, I'd watching you play, I'd still love to be able to play like my uncle plays, those sort of songs, But he'd look at me, whittling away, and he'd be like, well, yeah, you carry on,
Yeah.
carry on, sort of thing. But which is nice of him to say. But yeah, probably didn't realise how much I still remembered back to watching him when I was a kid, and getting wanting to play like that.
Definitely inspired. Well, I think it's the same for all of us. I think you got some member of family or a family friend that picked up the guitar, which is probably the first person you saw play live, and then you sort of go, I really want to do that,
was.
and then you go off on your own journey with your own influences, and
exactly
go somewhere else.
Take it and run. Yeah, and like you say, your favorite bands or musicians, different bits of food, and you eat them, and then you turn them into a meal. Getting a bit deep there, but you want to sound a little bit like everyone. I always wanted a lot of, out of all Brian's guitar tones, I absolutely love his clean tone the most. A lot of people say, we love the out of phase screaming tone. There's nothing. I find myself on stage when I hit that sweet spot with the volume pot through the boxes, and you just get that sort of shimmery, that clean, whether it's on verses of Under Pressure or It's a Hard Life, and just finding that sweet spot and I actually, not being full of it, I just think, oh, that sounded just like Brian then, and that's my job. I'm trying, but in my head I'm thinking, oh, that sounds like, and I think, oh, if it makes me feel like, hopefully somebody in the audience feel like that. But yeah, some of my favorite sounds of his are those crystal clean sounds.
I guess that's the genius of the Red Special as well. That him and his dad built is and the range of tones that you can get out of that one guitar.
Definitely, and the sixpence, of course. It took me ages to get used to a sixpence after years of a plastic pick, and it was crazy. It took me a while. I ended up doing the first few gigs with a plastic pick. I thought, no, I've got to do this properly. So I'm going to persevere with a coin. And then I played so long with a coin, I struggled to play with a plastic pick, and all these speed riffs of these 3-note per string arpeggios and stuff from Paul Gilbert and Steve Vai. I was struggling with a plastic pick. I got so used to that coin. Of course, I couldn't play them with the pick as well. So I was caught in this no man's land of I can only play Queen now with the sixpence. So I took a break, and every spare minute I had that I wasn't playing Queen stuff on stage with the sixpence, I made a deliberate effort, just a plastic, and then with a sort of few days constant pain, the pick felt second nature again. But for a while it didn't. I actually thought I'd messed myself up. I just couldn't get used to playing with a pick again. I was like, it's funny what you get used to.
So now you stand like Brian May, and you can't play anything but in the style of Brian.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. He's ruined me. It's all downhill now. Yes. But it's even little simple things. It's like I was so used to, again, my early days, my solid state amps were, I had a foot switch, clean, dirty. That's how I got my sounds, And then it's like, what do you mean you don't have it as a box? You've got to turn it fully up, and you use your control. And I thought, I can't be dealing with this. This is too much hard work. But I tell you what, it's one of the best things. I can't tell you how much I love playing on stage. Every night's slightly different. You might have that volume pot just slightly different to what you had the night before, and it's such an organic thing. You're almost like treating the guitar like a living thing, I think, when you're controlling it that way, rather than just pedal. It's boring, Definitely. So yeah, I love that volume pot. Yeah.
And the guitar itself, right? I say this to lots of people, and I know we talk about and we've talked about, and you've had your own journey with analog and digital, and you've come back to real amps. But when you're on stage with an amp, or whether you're at home and you've got the ability to turn AC30 full up, even if it's attenuated slightly, but the way that the speaker moves the air and the way the pickups and the guitar vibrate and moves, it is like you're holding a living thing. And when you become at one with that, and you can control that, and then you sort of figure out where you can stand and what you can do, and how interactions with the volume pot change that, and what you can do to you lose yourself. And I find myself stood in a room with the guitar going, wow.
You just become around doing that. You become part of the instrument. You become part of the amp, the treble boost, the guitar. You just it. And like you say, I did go down a route about a year and a half using an Axe Effects, and it was great for portability. I'd take it. I had a guaranteed sound, because that was always my my worry. because I like backups or backups or backups. I'm one of those people, and the thought of an amp going down when I'm, because I'd heard all these things, valve amps, they break down on you. So I'd never had any issue with my solid state. So first time I was gigging with a valve amp, I was always conscious: is it going to go? Because I'd heard all these horror stories. I think I've had one go on me, over the years on stage. So that's not too bad, and that wasn't one of these modded ones. It was.
No.
It was just one I bought on the internet, and it just didn't like being set up. So that went. But yeah, so the X Fix got some good sounds on it, and it was portable, and it was it was a quick and easy setup, and we were all using in ear, so we didn't need it was just an easy setup. But yeah, I've come back to the amps, and I can't really see myself going back to anything other than real amps now. I say I've got your two Cat amps that I bought a few, the Nigel Knight amps, and I've got Dave Peterson modded one. So I've got those three, and that's my live rig. And yeah, I might continue because, like you say, when you turn them on, you get the hum, you roll up your volume for sound check, and it's just like, yeah, boys and their toys. It's just, yeah, love it.
Definitely, it's special. And again, the fact that Brian found that back in, we all found this through people who have researched his gear over the years, and we went on an internet forum and found out. But Brian was there finding that out like live and creating that, and he built his homemade Red Special with his dad.
Pioneer.
And then he talked to Rory Gallagher and just told Treble Blaster AT30, and then he's obviously put the two together or three together and gone, that's the sound I want. And that's it.
It's just what he had in his head, and those three components made it real.
And aren't we lucky that he found them?
We are, and we all think that we do our best with those three components, thinking we can do them. But like they say, it is in the fingers, because we've heard, we've all heard Brian pick up a Strat or an acoustic, and it's disheartening, isn't it? He picks up an acoustic, and it still sounds like Brian on an electric. So, but I always remember reading all these guitar magazines. I remember going back to Nuno, his biggest influence was Eddie Van Halen as well as Brian May, and he turned up at a Van Halen sound check, and Eddie said, "Go on, try my guitar." So he puts Eddie's guitar on. He's got Eddie's rig there, plays it, and he said, "Oh, shit, I still sound like me." He thought he'd just sound like Eddie, but it's not a bad thing sounding like Nuno. But yeah, he wanted to sound like Eddie. But so yeah, it's the digits.
Definitely is, and the hours and time you put into it, and all of our brains work slightly differently as well. So where you go with your fingers naturally, and the notes you hear in your head before you play them are different. Thing.
Yeah. There's obviously a few techniques you can, you sort of pick up as you're trying to sound like Brian, the way he, vibrato, and the way he'll often bend a note without sort of hearing him bend up to it. So a lot of guitarists are sort of, boop, but he's already there. He's found that pitch, and then he'll pick it and then vibrato it, and that's a sort of a Brianism, if you like, if there's such a word. So yeah, it's just listening to how he does simple things and add them all together, and then hopefully you can, I see my job on stage is to, I probably think way too deep. People are just there for the Freddie. I'm under no illusion. I could spend a fortune on gear, and I think I've got the best replica. I've got the best amps. I've got this all singing treble booster, and I think everyone's going to be, to me, they're just hearing somebody play Queen songs. They're not hearing a tone. They're not hearing, if I play one wrong note, they hear that, but they won't. They won't, compliment the. Well, you sound just like, that sound to those boxes is amazing.
I guess how I look at it, Craig, is if you've got all the stuff and you're happy, it makes you play better. And then if you play better and you're enjoying it, then hopefully the rest of the band can hear that and you're playing, and they'll play better and enjoy it. And the Freddie will sing more like Freddie, and everyone enjoys it because you're there in the moment.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. But definitely is with Mercury anyway. It's nice. They're actually a band that actually like having the amps up on stage. I'm always one of those guitarists before where, is that too loud? I'd wait to be asked to turn up, and they're like, come on, give it some more. And I was like, okay, this is good. This is a good band for me. They like the guitar loud, and it should be loud in a Queen band.
Definitely, you've got to be loud in a Queen band, because Queen were really loud, very loud.
Exactly, and that's my one thing. I was always born about 10 years too late. I wish I could have seen Queen mid to late 70s, but no such thing as a time machine. But yeah, that was the era for me.
And
just one show.
have you ever met Brian?
Yes, I met him. I met him back in 2016. Not at a Queen concert, because I knew I'd never have a chance to meet him at a Queen. Well, it'd be Queen Adam Lambert at that point. But I looked and I saw he was doing one of his books. It was a 3D, one of his 3D, what do you call it? Not telescopic. What's the word? Stereoscopic books on Victorian crinoline, of all things. And I thought, wow, okay. And this was in Bath, and he co-written this book with a French fella. And I'll be honest with you, I finished work a bit early, drove to Bath, at two and a half hours to Bath, got there early, waiting outside in the queue, and we saw Brian walking in to this talk, and I saw Pete Malandrone with him and that, and he sort of queue ways. Thought, well, that's quite cool, first time I sort of seen Brian in the flesh. I'd only seen him once with Adam Lambert at that point, live at a show, sort of 20 meters away. So I thought, okay, this is going to be the only chance I'm going to get to meet Brian, if I've got any chance at all. It's not going to be after a show. It's going to be a small event like this. I thought, no one's going to really be here. I mean, Victorian crinoline book, it's a bit select. It's all part of this Bath Fashion Week thing anyway. So I turns up, and it was quite an entertaining speech. They made it quite interesting with the stories and all these disasters, how he got into these stereoscopic books and as a kid. And he's all dressed up. He had the top hat on and the suit, looked very Victorian. And I was looking around, and I could see about 95% of the people were there like me, with a hoodie on and a Queen t-shirt on underneath. we was all there for the same thing, all being polite, and yes, this is interesting. And they'd already said Brian isn't going to be signing anything Queen. He'll sign the stereoscopic book, which we're here for, the publishers have put on. So I thought, I better buy one of these books. It's a nice hardback book, but I thought, I've got to get a signature. So I think it was about fifth in line at the end of the speech for the queue. And so I'm waiting there, and I can see Brian. He's getting nearer and nearer, and it was just amazing. I mean, obviously, as a kid seeing him on Wembley '86, and it's just the black hair has turned to grey, but it's still bouncing around. That's all I kept remembering. His hair is just a life of its own. I thought, I just wanted to reach out and touch his hair. I thought, no, don't do that. So I'm getting nearer and nearer. So I've got the book there ready, and I'm talking. He's all very polite, and they always say don't meet your heroes. I've been lucky with the 5 of my heroes I've met. I've had nothing but good words about all of them. So he looks up at me, and I didn't want to do the whole thing. Oh, I'm in a Queen tribute band, or I love you, Brian, and all of this stuff. So I just sort of said, you're the reason I started playing guitar at 10 years old in 1986. Left it as that. So he's signing my book, and then he looks up and he goes, at this point, I was coming up to my 40th. He went, "You're never 40. I said, well, I'm in a month's time, Brian. He looked at me up and down. He went, "No, you look too good to be nearly 40. I said, Brian, I loved you before, but I love you even more now. So I thought, right, let's strike while the iron's hot. So I had a copy of his, the Simon Bradley Red Special book tucked in my pocket. I said, I'm surprised you could sign this for me as well, could you, please, Brian? He looked around because the publisher had his eye on him.
Yeah.
Shouldn't really. He said, but he said, as it's my book, I will. So he signed it. Craig did it. So I got two signings for the coffee of one. And then as I walked out, Pete Malandrone was stood there, and he'd obviously overheard the conversation. He said, "You've obviously not had enough beer in your life." He said, "You want to look more like me."
Brilliant.
So yeah, that was my meeting with Brian. It's short and sweet, but I got 2 signings for the price of one, and a nice photo and a good memory. So
nice.
Yes, good. Very good. So yeah, I do get envious. I do, and I see people who have met him back in the day. The dark-haired Brian, as it were. Outside the studios. I think it's a whole world away now. I see people could actually wait outside recording studios, and people would actually walk down streets, stars, and they'd actually stopped and would take photos. And everything now seems so hidden. Cars with blacked out windows and no time for anybody. And just thought of these, members of Queen walking down the road, carrying cases and stuff to go and record an album and stopping for people. You just couldn't imagine that these days.
No, but, it's a shame. I think people tend to, especially with we've all got a video recorder or a camera in our pocket.
Yeah.
You catch someone on the wrong day, or you misquote someone, or there's lots of people out there taking advantage of things, which is a shame. And
it's too easy these days. It's like I've just currently been. Sorry, go on.
No, it spoils it for the rest of us.
Yeah, it does. And I've been watching the first part of that new the Beatles documentary that Peter Jackson's done. and the quality of the footage is just amazing. And I was thinking, it's just, there's bits and pieces of Queen over the years, but could you imagine having that setup, like when they was recording like one of the early albums, cameras everywhere, interviews going on? Because we get the same. There's only so many old vintage interviews that every time there's a new Queen program or documentary, we've all heard it. It's a different edit of it, but there's nothing new coming out or being found. And I was watching that Beatles thing, thinking, what a shame. I mean, so many throwaway bits of footage now. Bands these days, Insta, phones filming everything, and it's just throwaway. And maybe that's part of the magic of the old bands, that you don't have that full-on access. But part of me it'd be nice to have a little bit more, wouldn't it?
Definitely. I think it'd be really interesting to see how their like recording process and how they work together and bounce off each other. I think I know it's a film, but the Bohemian Rhapsody film, it kind of feels like although they probably shrunk it down, as probably a fairly accurate-ish representation of how the band would have bounced off each other around that time. But no, I think you're right. It would have been fantastic to have some actual like stock footage from back in the day of Queen and watching them together.
Just interactions, just throwaway conversations and stuff. Not even just the music, just what they were talking about.
Well, that's sort of what they needed was the Red Special Guitar podcast back in the day, kicking around.
Indeed,
chat about conversations with people and not talking about gear and music.
Yeah, we can only imagine, can't we? Can only dream of it. But no, it's great, and it's a fantastic community, and I love, I'm not just because I love listening to all the podcasts. I put them on, earphones on, driving around the van between jobs and listening to them. Probably depends what sort of work I got on that day. It might take about 8 different stops and starts to get through them. Just got another job to go to. But yeah, I love listening to them. Just again, hearing the people that I've sort of been talking to online, or seeing their comments, and just different stories, different reasons why people have got into Queen or the guitar. And it's just like you say, a lot of people have similar stories as well, like we sort of said at the start.
Definitely. And I think it's so important that we capture all this stuff, because I mean, you're going to be 46 soon, Craig. You're not getting any younger.
I know. I'm closer to 50 now. No, I'm not. I'm joking. Now.
But the great thing with Queen is you go to an Queen and Adam Lambert concert, and there are youngsters in the audience. There's the next generation. You've got people like Merlin, who's been on the podcast.
Young Merlin.
He's a fantastic guitar player, and
he's really come on leaps and bounds, isn't he? Yeah,
and he's the future of the Forum. And if we can get people like Merlin and some of the other youngsters along, and get them to learn and understand, and pass on the information that we've all been curated over the years, and store it somewhere in these conversations.
Keeps it living. I mean, that's what I love playing the shows. Playing on stage, you look down, and there's kids there, and you can tell they're not just being brought along by their parents because they couldn't get a babysitter. These kids, you watch them, and I do watch them because it's fantastic, and they remind me of me when I was younger. They're mouthing every word, and even the songs that you think they won't really know this one. You're like Bicycle Race or something, and they're singing along, and they love it. Give them a sixpence at the end, and his face lights up, and to me, that's just it's worth it, because I just think if that was me as a kid doing the same thing, that's what you'd want, and. It's fantastic, and it's a whole new generation. Yeah, the film's definitely sparked interest in probably the kids getting into Queen. But then I like the fact that they've gone deeper than the film. They've actually got into real Queen, and then they eventually get down to the geeky level that we get into. The bits and pieces of it all. And that's fantastic. And again, they kept it live. I love it or I hate it. You hear a Queen song on an advert that it's some horrendous edit. For some cleaning chemical or whatever, and it's horrendous when you hear the song chopped, but it's putting Queen in people's ears, and that kid, what's this song, Mum? And then this is Queen, and that's how it starts. And I say they've all got a phone now. They can go on YouTube, look up the old concerts, and it starts there. So
definitely, and that's really what we want to do, is inspire the next generation with the stories of ours. And it's great. It is really a lovely thing to do, and I think you're so lucky, and you're a fantastic guitar player, Craig, and a great advocate of the Forum, and a lovely chap too. And it's been great fun having a chat with you tonight. Thank you.
No, it's been really good. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for your time.
No, you're more than welcome. Really enjoyed it, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you before the next meetup. But if not, then I'll definitely be there.
Yeah. Well, you need to play in the southwest so I can come and see
I
you.
know. I
need
do.
to
I go where the
bang that
bookings are,
drum.
but yeah,
We need to
yes,
bang the
exactly.
drum. You need to say we need a booking in the southwest.
That's it. Let's get down there. Let's get down there. Let's go see John. Now wear this.
Yeah. I'll wear mine, and they might.
Yes.
You know, if I could
Free entry with every Starlix jumper.
There you go. You heard
what more
it
do you want,
folks?
Yeah.
No, brilliant, Craig. Thanks so much for your time, mate. Keep
no
safe.
problem at all.
And
Thank you, and you.
I'll speak to you again soon.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Craig, for recording that with me. I know it's been a while since we recorded it, since it's gone out, but thank you for your patience and thank you for bearing with me. There's been a lot of stuff going on outside of the Red Special and the podcast, and it's taken me some time to get back to putting things together again. Hopefully, over the next few weeks, you'll see a few more episodes. And as we mentioned in the podcast, the Red Special Guitar Meetup is coming up in October this year. If you want to find out more about how you might get to that, you can either head over to Facebook, go to the Red Special Guitar Forum and look for the event, or you can go to redspecialguitarpodcast.com, click on events, look at Red Special Meetup 2022, and that's got all the information you will need on how to go to the meetup, what's likely to happen, how you can support, and all of those really good things. I hope to see as many of you there as I possibly can. Massive shout out again to my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me and the channel and allowing us to capture more and more podcast episodes. I promise you there's some really cool stuff coming up and some great podcasts just like Craig's that you won't want to miss. So make sure you hit the little bell icon and the subscribe button on YouTube, and make sure you like us and leave a rating on your podcast app of choice. And I just hope you're all really well and keep safe, and we will catch you in the next one. Goodbye.